Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a bridge across something. So imagine that there's a canyon or a crack in the earth, or in this case it's a chasm, which is just another word for a giant crack in the earth. And we need to put something across that gap to make a bridge so we can get to the other side. So in this example here I have two rooms, one called south of chasm, one called north of chasm, and this is ripped off directly from Zork. And I've got an object called a plank, and that's going to that's what I'm going to have to put across the gap to get to the other side. And I've also have an object called chasm, because if I want to put something across an object, that object actually has to exist. So the chasm is going to be what we're going to call a scenery object. Like, it's there, it's not portable, it's just kind of there to be looked at, and also to give us an object that we can interact with as far as making a sentence that allows us to put a plank down across it. So let's go look at our room setup here and our objects and just take a look at what we've got. We have off-screen player, and then we have south of chasm, north of chasm, the plank, and the chasm itself. So let's look at the chasm itself. I've made this a scenery object, so it's not going to say like you see a chasm here. If you mention it in the room description. And notice that I've put it in south of chasm. So if I run this project right now, you can see I'm south of chasm here, and it says this is a ledge on the south side of a deep chasm about 10 feet across. There's a plank here, right? So notice I can say examine the chasm, and it says this is an unfathomably deep crack in the earth, right? So, or it is a unfathomably deep crack in the earth would have been better, but in any case, you can see that the object is there. It's just kind of hidden. It's just a scenery object there to be looked at. But the fact that it exists, as an object in the game means that we can interact with it. And if I try to go north, it says you can't go that way. What it should probably say is like, the chasm is too wide or something like that. So let's look at how we could do that. That is what these messages down here are for, the customize you can't go that way. So let's go to south of chasm, and I'm going to click this little customize you can't go that way. And for north here, I'm going to say the chasm is too wide to cross, or something like that. And now I'll click save, and watch what happens when I run this. Launch player. If I try to go north, it says the chasm is too wide to cross. That's a much better description of what's going on than you can't go that way. So so now what we need to do is figure out, okay, how do we put the plank down and then change the way the rooms are connected, which is not hard to do. So let's go, and then let's examine our plank here. So so notice that I just put the chasm was 10 feet across, and then I said the board was 12 feet across. So that's kind of like a subtle, not so subtle suggestion. Hey, you could use this board to get across this gap. Now let's make a function here. So I'm going to pop over to the function tab, and I'm going to make a function called bridge gap, or bridge chasm. How about that? That's a better name. And what's going to happen when we put the plank down is we'll say, okay, print line. You put the plank across the chasm, forming a bridge to the north. There we go. Okay, and now what we have to do is actually connect south of chasm to north of chasm. We need to change the way the rooms are hooked up. So we'll say, now the directions that you can go are just properties of the rooms, the same way the portable and the scenery flags are. You can change the way the rooms are hooked up as well. So we can say south of chasm dot north dot n, I think, dot n equals north of chasm. And so now what we've made it possible to go from south of chasm north to north of chasm. And then what we probably want to do, we don't want the player to be able to pick the plank back up, because then they'd they would remove the bridge. So the easiest thing to do, this is kind of cheating, we can just say that the plank isn't portable anymore. Otherwise, we have to keep track of, is the plank up, is the plank down, did the player drop the plank in the right location? And it just creates a lot of bookkeeping that really, it's not really necessary as far as advancing the story in the game. So we could say plank.portable equals 0, right? So it's, uncheck the portable flag for the plank. And I think that should be all that we need. So let's make a sentence to actually execute that function. So we'll say if I put, where's put? I really ought to alphabetize these things. I'm probably looking right at it. Put, yeah, there we go. If we put the plank over, or let's say across, you probably want to put both of these sentences in there, across the chasm, then call the bridge chasm function and click OK. So and then let's go, let's just run that and see if it works. Test, launch player. So if I try to go north, it says the chasm is too wide. And now if I take the plank, it says taken, put plank across chasm. You put the plank across the chasm, forming a bridge to the north. And now if I try to go north, so now I'm in the right location. I just forgot to say that it was lit. If I go south, can I go that way? No. So let's just go fix that real fast. So south of chasm is lit. Is north of chasm lit? No, it's not. Okay, and then we have to figure out, is this a one-way connection or is this a two-way connection? I'm just going to say it's a one-way connection. So I'll say if we're north of the chasm, we can always go back to the south of the chasm here. So let's run this again. Save, test, launch player. Okay, so there's a plank here. If I try to go north, it says it's too wide. Take the plank, put plank across the chasm. Put the plank, okay, forming a bridge to the north, now we're north of the chasm. If I go south, now I'm south of the chasm. There we go. So that was it. The trick there is we just need to be able to change the way that the rooms are connected. And we can do that because this north, south, east, west, these are all properties of objects that can be changed the same way you can change any of these checkboxes here. You just have to say what room you're now connected to. And then also, we kind of use the customize the you can't go that way message, because that really kind of helps the player build a mental picture of what's around them. So that's it. That was all we needed to do to make a bridge, and I'm just going to leave that code right there in case you need to see that. But if you need help getting that to work, just ask for help and I'll be happy to provide it.